Hello there. I am officially back home from my 3 week long trip. Journey and adventure. I was only planning on it being 2 weeks, but it was totally three, and that is okay. But I am back in my Biz Hippie office, and I have been thinking about a lot of things. So I was really excited to record this week's newsletter. One is I've been thinking a lot, and I've already talked about this in past newsletters. I've been thinking a lot about capacity because it's very normal when I come home from a trip, especially something that's like a retreat and so deeply focused, like the Costa Rica Amenti trip I was on. There was a lot of deep personal growth that I experienced through that because we were doing somatic movement and dance to tap into like our deepest emotions and what is within us and really move through that and really uncover that and process that on a somatic level. So I had like a lot of deep emotions come up, a lot of like childhood ick coming up that's always kind of there under the surface, but I forget that it exists. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, here it is. So to go from that and then to have my trip be all thrown off and end up in Florida for a week, but basically to go right back to work mode is kind of jarring. And I have learned from taking so many retreats that, you need that integration time after the retreat, after the travels to come back down into reality. But I also have work to do and things to get done. And so going back to capacity, something that I've been thinking about is how can I tell my brain that I don't need that much time, that I can deeply integrate and at the same time go back into work mode right away, and that my work is not separate from my integration, and that in fact I have the capacity, I have the desire, I have the drive, I have the commitment and the dedication, I have like the excitement to actually do my work. And yes, on the one hand, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I wish I didn't have to work. Really what that part wants to do is just like watch TV and watch Netflix all day. But the reality is like, I don't feel good when I do that either. It's such a waste of time, and then I feel crappy because I know for me that I feel better when I'm productive. I feel better when I'm like using my energy to the highest degree. So if anything, actually going back into work mode because I'm so passionate about what I do, because I desire to do this work, it actually helps with my integration. It helps with my fuel. So I worked all last week in Florida, like a normal work week. If anything, I worked more. And now I'm back home. And luckily I had 1 day or 2 days to like chill. I came back on a weekend. I did my weekly meal prepping. I did my laundry. I like set myself up for success. And now I'm back to regular work week. So that's one thing that I've been thinking about. And then the other thing I've been thinking about is continuing this deep processing work from my Costa Rica Amenti retreat and really bringing that into my day-to-day life. And I'm doing this in two ways. One is I am so like movement has always been such a big thing for me, but it's been more yoga focused. And so now like and dance too. Like if you follow me on Instagram, I've done my fun dance videos for, a long time, but taking that like movement practice and dance practice even deeper and saying, okay, I do a lot of mental work, like mental healing, but doing the body physical healing and movement to continue to process and grow in deeper ways. So I'm committed to that practice and continuing to maintain that and practice that for myself. And I am seeing more and more clearly. I was listening to a podcast on the plane, and it just like on the plane ride home from Florida, and it struck me where I was like, oh, I'm seeing clearer now the deeper under the surface blocks that will block me and are blocking me in my business. If you've ever like had a one-on-one conversation with me about business, I say all the time, and I've probably said this in the Empowered and Abundant podcast, that business is just a pressure cooker of personal growth and development. Like the success of your business is really dependent on your own internal growth and transformation. And I have found that to be true time and time again. So as I've grown my business, I've also had to grow deeper within myself. And so now, as I'm in 2026 and working on hitting new revenue goals, but also new impact goals, and how many people I can serve and how I can really serve them at a higher level, and also have that be reflected in the revenue of my business, I'm realizing, oh, okay, this is the gunk under the surface that really needs to be cleaned up. Otherwise, I will not get there, because I am really good at just being in action mode, taking action, doing the steps. Like, I can make a decision about my marketing and implement it. Like last year, I was like, I'm going to create a podcast, and then I implemented it. And then a few weeks ago, I decided I'm going to start this newsletter, and now I just implement it, and I post regularly on social media. Like, I just do the things. It's easy for me to make a decision and consistently put effort into my business, especially around my marketing. I've learned that skill set. I didn't always have that skill set, but now I have that skill set. But I can take all that action. I can do all those things. I can launch regularly for the Empowered Abundance program. But if there's like this gunk under the surface, it doesn't really matter how often I do it, how consistently I do it, how much I do it, because that gunk under the surface is going to be the thing that really holds it back. And just to give you some examples, because I want to make this tangible and real, some of the stuff that I've been deeply uncovering is these childhood beliefs of like, I'm annoying. That was a huge like core wound for me. Is I was told all the time in middle school, like, you're so annoying. That was like the biggest like judgment that was handed to me. It was handed to me often, and that was really like the core that made me shift who I was and how I show up and who I am in my life. And so this still bleeds into my business, where if I feel like I'm posting too much or sending too many emails, like I'm being annoying, and also that people don't want to hear what I have to say, that the things that I want are bad and I'm going to end up alone. And so therefore I need to shift what I'm saying, conform what I'm saying, do it right, do what other people want to do, pull back, do less, show up less, post less. Right? And so like all of this is under the surface of every single thing that I do in my business, and it changes the way that I show up. And even if I do show up consistently or show up powerfully or create something that I think is really awesome in one moment, I also have these beliefs under the surface that like, oh, it actually wasn't good, or people aren't going to like it, or no one's going to care, no one's going to see it. Things like that. Okay. And, you know, granted, I can have these beliefs and still be successful and still make money. I mean, I've already done it. I've already proven that I can do it. But also when I look at the next level version of me, the next income level version of me, the next leader version of me, the version of me who's bigger and serving more powerfully, these under the surface beliefs can't come with me. It's just impossible. And so it became very clear to me, again, I was like, okay, this is really what I need to focus my time and energy on. I could spend so much time and energy just like doing and trying to figure it out and like outputting. But if I took that same energy and redirected it over here to going in to these deep core wounds and healing them and choosing to work through them, that's going to give me so much more forward momentum. So that's what I'm focusing on. And what I have been doing to already start to implement this is, one is this morning I did a whole like movement practice where I was like, yeah, I'm going to like release this through my body. But also before that, when I was sitting on the plane, I like meditated and had a conversation with my inner child self who was being told that she was being annoying. And I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I think what you have to say is really interesting. And so I'm going to listen to what you have to say, and anything that you have to say, like, I'm going to be here. I'm always going to be interested, and I will be the one that listens to you, and I will be the one that cares. And so it doesn't really matter what other people think. I get to be the benchmark for you of what is like right and what is wrong, and I promise I will always be interested. So I'm letting that inner child version of me, the one who has a lot to say, the one who is really big, the one who is really creative, I'm choosing to let her guide more, even in the business, because I believe that what she has to say is really cool and really interesting, even though she wasn't told that as a child. So how can I let her drive the bus more, the bus of my life and the bus of my business, as opposed to letting this more like robotic, analytical, have to do it right, strategic side of me. Now that side's not wrong. I think that side has a lot of merit, but also I want to feel excited about the things that I share. I want to feel connected to the things that I share, and I don't want to do it from this place of like, I need people to like me or I'm going to end up all alone. I want to do it from this place of, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what inspires me, right? Like even in this newsletter right now, I'm just talking about what I spend my time thinking about. And instead of worrying like how this is going to land, just knowing that this is what's in alignment for me, trusting that. So that's the process that I'm working on. And my intention is to spend even more time deeply coaching myself through this work and continuing to go deeper and see like, how is this showing up in my day to day? Because I've talked about it before, especially in episodes of the Empowered and Abundant podcast, how the energy behind the action matters more than the action itself. So I can be doing and doing, but if the energy is coming from this place of deeply rooted not enoughness, it doesn't matter how much I do. And so it's okay for me, that's what I'm telling myself, it's okay for me to do less action, but make sure the action I am taking, the things that I am outputting, are coming from this even more deeply aligned place of like, I care about what you have to say. I am willing to be alone for the sake of you. And I guess like me, I'm willing to be alone for the sake of me, listening to me, doing what I need, doing what I want and what I desire, and trusting that and practicing that. So anyway, this is what I'm focusing on this week. I'm curious to know, what's the deeper layer underneath your goals that you're working towards, right? So my goal is to expand in my business, and I'm seeing like, okay, these are the deeper layers that are going to get in the way in the long term. It's not like the surface level actions. So I'm curious, like, what's the deeper layer, the deeper blocks, the things that have been showing up under the surface that can't come with you in your next level? I would love to hear that. You can reply to my email with this week's newsletter, and I would love to hear what you are working on too. Okay, that's it for this week's newsletter episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you next week.